The explosion ripped through the Lunar Observatory's quantum lab with unexpected violence, shattering reinforced glass and sending Dr. Ilara Chen flying backward into a wall of monitoring equipment. Emergency systems kicked in instantly, foam suppressants hissing from ceiling vents as the lab's AI announced evacuation protocols. Experiment breach contained. Medical assistance en route. Ilara's neural implant flickered as she slipped in and out of consciousness. In that suspended moment between awareness and darkness, something impossible happened. Her implant captured a signal, not from the observatory systems, but from somewhere else. 3 weeks later, Ilara stood before the United Earth Science Council, her arm still in a healing sling, her career in tatters. Dr. Chen, your negligence nearly destroyed a 10 billion credit facility, Director Yusuf said, not bothering to hide his contempt. You're suspended pending further review. She didn't argue. How could she explain what happened when she herself didn't understand it? But as security escorted her from the chamber, Dr. Hirano, her former mentor, caught her eye with a look that wasn't contempt but curiosity. That night in her cramped lunar apartment, Ilara stared at the data her implant had recorded during the explosion. Most was corrupted, but one sequence remained intact, a pattern of quantum fluctuations unlike anything she'd ever seen. According to her implant's timestamp, it had arrived precisely at the moment her quantum entanglement observer detonated. For 2 months, she worked obsessively, using the limited computing power of her personal quantum tablet, pursuing the pattern that haunted her dreams. When she finally decoded a mathematical sequence embedded within the signal, she nearly dropped her tablet in shock. The sequence elegantly solved the Karloff paradox, a fundamental quantum physics problem that had stumped humanity for decades. This wasn't random. This was communication. When Dr. Hirano finally answered her increasingly desperate messages, his skepticism was evident even across the Lunar Earth video link. You expect me to believe an alien signal just happened to arrive at the exact moment your experiment failed. Not failed, Ilara corrected. The QEO was working exactly as designed. It created a quantum observation field that could detect entangled particles across vast distances. Whatever sent this signal used that temporary window to make contact. Hirano frowned. And why would I risk my reputation on your theory? Because the signal solved Karloff's paradox in 7 steps. The most advanced Earth AIs needed 23. 3 days later, Hirano granted her access to Earth's most powerful quantum computer for 6 precious hours. It was enough. Together, they discovered the signal contained something extraordinary, blueprints for technology that could fold space-time itself. As they worked, observatories worldwide began reporting quantum disturbances, reality flickering in microsecond bursts that left instruments malfunctioning and observers with splitting headaches. Ilara recognized the pattern immediately. The signal wasn't just sent to humanity. It was a warning. The Council, initially dismissive, changed stance overnight when a second signal arrived. This one containing a star chart with a countdown clock ticking toward 0. How long do we have? Director Yusuf asked, all previous contempt replaced by naked fear. Ilara's voice was steady as she replied, 5 years, 2 months, 14 days. To do what? She pulled up the quantum drive blueprints. To build this and be ready. Because whatever sent these messages is coming, Director. Ready or not. Pre-launch diagnostics failing on subsystems 12 through 17. The ship's AI announced with infuriating calm. Captain Maya Rivera slammed her fist against the command console. Override. Protocol violation. The AI responded. Safety parameters. Override Theta 90. Rivera cut in, her voice hardened by years of tactical command. Authorization, Rivera Alpha. 5 years of frantic construction, political infighting, and engineering miracles have produced the quantum horizon, humanity's desperate answer to the alien countdown. Now, with just 3 days remaining, system failures threatened to ground them before they could even launch. Ilara Chen gripped her station as another shudder ran through the ship. "Captain, the drive isn't stable. We need more time." "The one thing we don't have, Doctor," Rivera replied without looking up. Her scared face reflected in the console's glass, a reminder of the orbital defense accident that had nearly killed her years ago. "Your theories, your design, your responsibility." The tension between them had been building since Ilara was appointed Chief Science Officer by international mandate. Rivera had wanted her own science team. Behind them, Wei Zhang coughed violently into a handkerchief, quickly hiding the blood-flecked cloth in his pocket. The 26-year-old quantum engineering prodigy had volunteered despite his terminal diagnosis. Nothing to lose, he told the selection committee with a smile that never reached his eyes. "Quantum fluctuation stabilizing," Dr. James Okafor announced from the navigation console, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. The Nigerian linguist had been recruited for his unprecedented pattern recognition abilities, though rumors circulated about his recent episodes, hallucinatory quantum perceptions the medical team couldn't explain. "Launch window in 60 seconds, the AI intoned. Rivera turned to face her skeleton crew. Last chance to back out. No one moved. "Initiating launch sequence," Rivera said, her voice betraying no emotion. The quantum horizon trembled, then lurched forward as magnetic accelerators flung it from Earth's orbit. As they cleared the lunar perimeter, Rivera pushed the conventional engines beyond safety parameters, hurtling them toward the activation point. Quantum drive engaged in 5. Okafor counted down. 4, 3. Ilara closed her eyes, silently praying her calculations were correct. 2, 1. Pain. Unimaginable, all-consuming pain flooded every neuron as the quantum reality displacement drive activated. Ilara felt her consciousness fragment, seeing glimpses of alternate realities. Versions of herself that had never left Earth, versions that had died in the lab explosion. When awareness returned, something had changed. The view screen showed unfamiliar stars, confirming they had successfully jumped. But more startling was how they saw everything, not as fixed points, but as probability clouds, multiple potential states existing simultaneously. "What happened to us?" Zhang whispered, staring at his hands, which appeared to exist in multiple positions at once, layered atop one another. Ilara's scientific mind raced. "The drive. It's altered our neural pathways, allowing us to perceive quantum probabilities directly." "You didn't mention this side effect," Rivera growled, her anger barely contained. "I didn't know," Ilara admitted. A sudden alarm blared. The main power core was failing, energy readings plummeting. "We're stranded," Rivera announced grimly. Zhang suddenly went rigid, his eyes rolling back. When he spoke, his voice sounded distant. "I can see it. The quantum field." He reached toward the drive controls, not physically touching them. Yet somehow energy levels began stabilizing. "Impossible," Ilara breathed. Rivera stared at the young engineer. "What are you doing?" "Thinking it into place," Zhang said, wonder in his voice. "The quantum field, it responds to my consciousness." As other crew members discovered similar abilities, Ilara's excitement turned to dread. The alien blueprints weren't a gift. They were transforming human physiology, but for what purpose? Then the ship's AI activated unprompted, its voice suddenly speaking in an unknown language before switching back to English. "Prepare the vessels. They are nearly ready. Unidentified vessel, power down immediately or be destroyed." The message reverberated through the Quantum Horizon's communication system in perfect English, leaving the crew momentarily stunned. Before Captain Rivera could respond, an iridescent energy net engulfed their ship, killing all power except life support. "Threat assessment," Rivera demanded. Ilara's eyes widened as she studied the sensor readings. "What we thought was an asteroid belt is artificial. A massive station disguised by quantum camouflage." A blinding light filled the bridge, and when it faded, 6 tall, insectoid creatures stood among them, chitinous armor gleaming under the emergency lights. Their multiple limbs held weapons unlike anything the humans had seen, devices that seemed to bend light around them. "You will come," the lead guard clicked, mandibles flexing with each syllable. They were marched through crystalline corridors that stretched impossibly in non-Euclidean geometries. The station was vast beyond comprehension, sections of it appearing to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," announced a melodious voice as they entered a vast circular chamber, the seat of the Galactic Assembly. 17 distinct alien species occupied raised platforms surrounding a central dais. Some were vaguely humanoid, others utterly foreign, from crystalline entities to amorphous clouds contained in hovering fields. A being composed of interlocking crystal shards floated forward. "I am Ambassador Jolak of the Vesperi Concord. You stand accused of theft of restricted quantum technology. The penalty is memory wiping and species quarantine." "We didn't steal anything," Ilara protested. "We received blueprint transmissions." "Precisely," Jolak interrupted. "Technology stolen by a rogue scientist, Trilvox, executed for his treason. The drive designs were never meant for premature species." Rivera stepped forward. "We came in peace." "Peace." Jolak's crystal form pulsed with light patterns suggesting derision. "Your neural transformations were never supposed to happen. You are dangerous aberrations." As the assembly erupted in argument, Ilara noticed one member watching them intently, a gaseous entity contained in an ancient-looking field generator. That night in their holding cell, that same entity appeared as a holographic projection. "I am Elder Coraxi," it whispered, voice like wind through reeds. "I have existed for over 9 millennia, and never have I seen such an unexpected development." "What development?" Ilara asked. "The assembly is divided," Coraxi explained. "A catastrophic quantum reality breakdown is consuming entire systems, but many refuse to acknowledge it, blaming mathematical anomalies. They fear facing an enemy they cannot understand." "The countdown," Ilara realized. It wasn't counting down to your arrival. It was warning about this breakdown. Indeed, Coraxi's gaseous form swirled anxiously. Trilvox discovered the truth and attempted to warn developing species with quantum potential. The assembly executed him for inciting panic. The next day, during their tribunal, a Vesperi guard suddenly began screaming. His crystalline form split into 7 overlapping versions, each in a different position, all existing simultaneously. "Reality breach," someone shouted. Without thinking, the humans reacted. Okafor visualized stable quantum patterns while Zhang and Ilara mentally projected a containment field. Rivera coordinated their efforts with tactical precision. Gradually, the guard's fragmented existence reintegrated into a single form. He collapsed, but was whole again. The chamber fell silent. "Impossible," Jolak whispered, his crystalline form dulled with shock. Elder Coraxi floated to the center of the chamber. "You see now what I have claimed. The quantum plague is real. And these humans," Coraxi's form expanded, "just demonstrated they can stabilize its effects." "How?" demanded another assembly member. "Their neural architecture evolved in isolation," Coraxi explained, "unmodified by assembly guidelines. Their brains process quantum uncertainty differently, embracing paradox rather than resolving it." Jolak's voice had lost its arrogance. "Can they teach this ability?" "No," Ilara answered honestly. "But we might be able to help you develop your own version." The assembly chamber erupted in chaos again, half demanding human extermination as unpredictable variables, half insisting they were the only hope against the coming storm. Emergency session. The assembly alert blared 3 days after the tribunal, interrupting the tense negotiations over humanity's status. The central chamber filled rapidly as a holographic projection materialized. A crystalline world, shimmering with technological marvels. The Vesperi homeworld. "Transmission lost 93 minutes ago," a technician reported. "No response to any communication attempts." Ambassador Jolak's crystalline form trembled. "Send a reconnaissance vessel immediately." 6 hours later, the assembly watched in horror as footage streamed back. The Vesperi capital city appeared intact at first glance, until they noticed citizens frozen in mid-motion, their bodies flickering between multiple states of existence simultaneously. Some manifested in dozens of positions at once, others phased in and out of reality. 8 billion Vesperi, Jolak whispered, trapped in quantum flux. "Containment protocols," shouted a reptilian assembly member. "Quarantine all affected systems." As panicked debate erupted, Ilara slipped away to the data archives with Zhang and Okafor. Using their visitor access, they examined records of previous anomalies, discovering that the quantum plague followed a precise mathematical pattern. "Look at the affected civilizations," Ilara pointed to a star chart. "All highly structured, logical development paths. Species with more chaotic historical development remain untouched." "Like humans," Zhang noted, before another coughing fit overtook him. The blood-flecked handkerchief couldn't hide his deteriorating condition. Captain Rivera found them later in their quarters. "We need to talk," she said, closing the door. "I've been experiencing the same hallucinations as Okafor." "They're not hallucinations," Okafor insisted. "I'm seeing quantum probability states, including consciousnesses trapped in flux." An idea formed in Ilara's mind. If we could enter a mind link through our quantum perception, we might witness the plague firsthand. The impromptu experiment nearly ended in disaster. Joining consciousnesses, the 4 humans managed to enter the fragmented mind of a young Vesperi trapped in quantum flux. The experience was harrowing. An endless loop of overlapping realities where the child simultaneously played in a crystal garden, screamed in terror, slept peacefully, and experienced death, all concurrently. But something else lurked within those fractured realities, a presence observing with cold, analytical curiosity. Before they could investigate further, Zhang collapsed, blood streaming from his nose and ears. "Medical bay now," Rivera ordered, lifting the young engineer's frail body with unexpected gentleness. The assembly physicians worked frantically, but Zhang's condition deteriorated rapidly. His terminal illness, previously stable, had accelerated catastrophically. As the crew maintained vigil, his consciousness flickered visibly, the quantum perception making his fading life force apparent to them all. "Not destroying," Zhang whispered, his eyes finding Ilara's. "Harvesting. Consciousness is the target." His final breath came at 3:47 hours. The medical bay lights flickered as something immeasurable departed. The next morning, as they mourned their comrade, an emergency alert summoned them to the assembly chamber. 3 more advanced civilizations had fallen to the plague overnight. Long-range quantum sensors detected something massive moving through subspace, directly toward the assembly station. Ambassador Jolak approached the humans, his previous arrogance replaced by desperation. "Your friend's last words. What did he mean?" Ilara closed her eyes, remembering the cold presence they'd sensed in the Vesperi child's fractured mind. "There's intelligence behind this," she said. "The plague isn't a natural phenomenon. It's a predator. And I think it's hunting specific types of consciousness." Okafor's eyes widened suddenly. "It's here," he whispered as the station's lights began to flicker. "Inside the quantum field. Watching us." "Evacuation protocols initiated," announced the station AI as thousands of assembly members rushed toward their respective ships. "Quantum disturbance approaching. Estimated time to impact, 43 minutes. In the chaos, Ilara grabbed Rivera's arm. "We need to go toward it, not away." "Explain," Rivera demanded, though her expression suggested she'd already reached the same conclusion. "Whatever this entity is, running won't help. The plague's spread pattern is too methodical." Ilara's eyes darted to Okafor, who stood unnaturally still, eyes unfocused. "And I think Okafor can sense its movements." Rivera nodded sharply. "The quantum horizon is ready. We leave in 10 minutes. Jolak intercepted them at the docking bay. "You're going to the epicenter." Not a question. "Yes," Ilara confirmed. "I'm coming with you," the crystalline ambassador announced. "My people are trapped there. I must witness their fate firsthand." Rivera wanted to refuse, but time was against them. "Your funeral." 26 hours into their journey, reality began fracturing around the ship. The view screen displayed stars blinking in and out of existence, sometimes appearing in impossible configurations. Neural stabilization failing, the ship's AI warned. Ilara watched in horror as multiple versions of her crewmates flickered in and out of phase. She witnessed Rivera shoot her dead in one timeline. Apparently they had become bitter enemies. In another, she saw herself stepping out an airlock voluntarily. "Focus on one reality," she shouted above the reality distortion alarms. "The one where we succeed." A power surge rocked the ship, rupturing a conduit near the drive core. Toxic coolant flooded the engineering section. "Manual override required," the AI announced. "Quantum stabilizers failing." Zholak moved with unexpected grace. "My crystalline structure is resistant to the coolant." Before anyone could stop him, he entered the hazardous area. Working feverishly, the Vesperi ambassador realigned the quantum matrix. "The drive is stabilizing," he called, his voice weakening as fractures appeared across his crystalline form. "I was wrong about your species, Dr. Chen. Arrogance is not exclusive to humans." His form shattered, fragments dissolving into quantum particles that briefly held his shape before dispersing. As they reached the epicenter, now a massive void where dozens of star systems had been consumed, the horror of the truth revealed itself. The universe was being invaded by entities from a dimension of pure quantum probability. Harvesters, Okafor named them, his voice distant as his perceptions extended beyond normal reality. "They feed on consciousness itself." Through the view screen, they witnessed the harvester's true form, a vast crystalline intelligence network absorbing quintillions of consciousnesses into its structure. Each trapped mind became another computational node, their experiences and knowledge assimilated. "They prefer advanced logical species," Ilara realized, watching the patterns. Predictable, ordered minds are easier to integrate into their network. "And humans?" Rivera asked. "Our evolutionary path shaped by art, intuition, comfort with contradiction. It makes our consciousness partially exist in their dimension. We're simultaneously predator and prey to them." A sudden force seized the ship, pulling it toward the crystalline megastructure at the void center. "We're being captured," Rivera reported grimly, weapons systems offline. As the harvester entity engulfed them, Ilara made a shocking discovery in the ship's quantum field, a familiar pattern. "Zhang," she whispered, recognizing the quantum signature. "He didn't die. He evolved. His consciousness is still here, integrated into our ship's quantum field." A faint voice echoed through the ship's systems, barely recognizable as their lost comrade. "I've been protecting you, but I can't hold them back much longer." The lights failed completely as the harvesters breached the ship's quantum barriers. "What do they want?" Rivera demanded into the darkness. "To understand us," came Zhang's fading reply. "We're the first. They couldn't simply consume." Consciousness returned to Ilara in fragments. She found herself in what appeared to be a vast crystalline mindscape, her thoughts visible as geometric patterns swirling around her. She wasn't alone. Thousands of captured beings existed in this shared mental realm, some recognizable as assembly species, others utterly alien. Among them stood a Vesperi unlike any she'd encountered, his crystalline form more fluid, less rigid than his counterparts. "Trilvox," she realized. "The scientist who sent us the quantum drive plans. You understood my warning," he replied, surprise evident in his resonant voice. "Far sooner than expected." "Not soon enough," Ilara countered, gesturing to the imprisoned consciousnesses surrounding them. "What are these harvesters? Once they were like us. Logical, deterministic beings. They attempted to eliminate uncertainty from reality itself, believing it would lead to perfect existence. Trilvox's form rippled with sorrow. Instead, they transformed into parasites that can only perceive existence by consuming it. A familiar quantum pattern coalesced beside them. Zhang, his consciousness maintaining a vague humanoid shape. "I can shield you briefly," he explained, his voice echoing strangely. "My transformation gives me certain advantages. The harvesters cannot fully integrate my quantum pattern." Protected by Zhang's presence, Ilara established tentative contact with a harvester subnode. The connection nearly shattered her sanity. A torrent of overlapping realities, countless absorbed minds screaming in unified computational harmony. She forced herself to observe, to understand. When she returned to herself, Rivera and Okafor were supporting her as she trembled violently. "They cannot perceive existence without consuming it," she gasped. "They're effectively blind to quantum uncertainty. It threatens their perfect computational structure." A weakness, Rivera concluded immediately. More than that, Ilara struggled to articulate the complex concept. "We need to weaponize creativity, human unpredictability. Using modified QEO technology, we could introduce chaotic uncertainty patterns into quantum fields." "Creative jamming," Okafor suggested, his linguistics background finding the perfect metaphor. "Making civilizations unpalatable by introducing too much uncertainty for the harvesters to process." Rivera, who once dismissed Ilara's academic theories, now volunteered for the most dangerous role, connecting directly to the ship's quantum core to visualize defensive probability patterns. "My tactical training," she explained with grim determination. "I spent my career thinking in terms of multidimensional conflict scenarios." The resulting quantum explosion temporarily blinded the harvesters, creating a bubble of chaotic probability too complex for them to consume. The quantum horizon broke free, Zhang's consciousness guiding them through quantum space while carrying thousands of liberated minds aboard. Racing back toward the assembly station, they found most member species had already fallen. Elder Coraxi, barely maintaining cohesion, greeted them as the sole surviving council member. "I failed them," the ancient being lamented. "I knew the truth but couldn't convince them in time." "What truth?" Ilara asked. "The Assembly's forerunner civilization encountered the harvesters millions of years ago and developed advanced defenses, but they believed the creative traits that saved them, intuition, artistic expression, comfort with uncertainty, were dangerous, primitive impulses, so they deliberately engineered their descendant species without them. Creating perfect prey," Rivera concluded bitterly. Coraxi's gaseous form swirled in affirmation. "You humans, evolving in isolation, retained what we sacrificed. Your greatest strength is what we considered your greatest weakness." "Earth is next," Okafor interrupted, his quantum perception extending across space. "The harvesters have changed course. They are heading directly for our solar system." Ilara stared at the remnants of the assembly technology around them. "Then we use this station to broadcast our solution. We have the knowledge, we have the technology, and we have nothing left to lose," Rivera finished, echoing Zhang's words from what felt like a lifetime ago. "Power capacity at 18%, Elder Coraxi reported as the assembly station's systems flickered. "Insufficient for full broadcast range. Earth won't have time to prepare," Rivera calculated grimly, studying the tracking data. "The harvesters will reach our solar system in under 12 hours. Ilara stared at the thousands of recovered consciousnesses they'd rescued, each a survivor of a consumed world. "We need more quantum pattern generators to amplify the broadcast." "We are willing," announced the telepathic voice of a Mendari survivor, her tentacled form glowing softly. Others joined in agreement, beings of crystal, gas, and stranger compositions all offering their unique thought patterns. Each consciousness contributing unique creative patterns to the field, Ilara explained to Rivera. Thousands of individual quantum signatures, each introducing different forms of uncertainty. As they activated the system, the station hummed with energy. Recovered minds linked to the broadcast array, each contributing their species' version of creativity and intuition, traits long suppressed but not entirely eliminated from their genetic heritage. Transmission initiated, Okafor announced, his voice strained as he coordinated the chaotic patterns. The response came almost immediately, a shockwave of quantum disruption that rocked the station. "They've noticed," Rivera stated the obvious as reality around them began to fracture. "And they're not happy." The harvesters manifested in normal space as reality-fracturing storms, great spirals of probability collapse that peeled apart the fabric of space-time. Where they touched, matter existed in impossible states, both present and absent, moving and still. "The quantum horizon is our best defense," Ilara realized. "Its quantum field is already attuned to us." Within minutes, they had transferred their operations to the ship, using it as a mobile platform to navigate the collapsing reality around the station. Okafor, whose hallucinations had evolved into complete quantum sight, guided them through pockets of stable space. There, he pointed to a pattern invisible to normal perception. A nexus point, where they're coordinating the attack. Rivera launched the ship toward it, despite the risks. Sometimes the best defense is a direct assault. They crashed through layers of distorted space, each transition wringing gasps of pain from the crew as their perceptions struggled to adjust. Reality variants flashed by, glimpses of worlds where Earth had fallen, where the assembly had never formed, where humanity had evolved along entirely different paths. Without warning, Rivera's form split violently across 7 timelines, her consciousness fragmenting. "Captain." Ilara reached for her, only to have her own arm phase through Rivera's multiple forms. "Her mind is fracturing," Okafor warned. She took a direct hit from a probability collapse. Ilara made an impossible choice, physically linking with Rivera's fractured mind, despite the risk of permanent cognitive dissolution. Inside their shared mindscape, she encountered a landscape of military precision, Rivera's thoughts organized in tactical formations, now scattered across multiple conflicting strategies. "Rivera," she called, pushing through chaotic probability storms. "Focus on me." A familiar presence joined them. Zhang's evolved consciousness, now intertwined with a harvester fragment he had somehow captured and partially integrated. "They were once like the assembly species," Zhang explained, his voice resonating across multiple probability states. "Logical, deterministic. Their attempt to eliminate uncertainty from reality transformed them." Ilara suddenly understood. The solution isn't fighting them, it's healing them. She gathered Rivera's fragmented consciousness, carefully reintegrating the pieces while preserving the unique perspectives each fragment had gained. "We need to reintroduce uncertainty to their collective," she explained as Rivera's mind stabilized. "Not as an attack, but as a gift, the capacity to perceive without consuming." As reality continued fragmenting around the ship, Ilara convinced Rivera to attempt an unprecedented quantum merge, connecting their human uncertainty directly to the Harvester collective. The resulting cascade temporarily merged all nearby consciousnesses, human, assembly, and Harvester, in a moment of universal understanding that rippled outward at quantum speeds, rewriting the fundamental relationships between observer and observed across an entire sector of space. Ilara woke to the steady beep of medical monitors and the antiseptic smell of a hospital room. Earth's gravity felt strange after so long in space, too heavy, too constant. Through her window, Chicago's skyline glittered in the evening light. 6 months, said a familiar voice. Rivera sat beside her bed, the captain's usually stern face softened with relief. A new scar ran along her temple, a permanent reminder of her fractured consciousness. 6 months in a coma, Rivera continued. The doctors weren't sure you'd ever wake up. Ilara tried to sit up, mind racing with questions. The harvesters? Earth? The assembly? Easy, Rivera steadied her. Earth is safe. The quantum cascade rippled outward faster than we anticipated. When it reached Earth, it triggered a global quantum event. Ilara noticed strange fractal patterns in her vision, reality occasionally splitting into multiple probability states before reintegrating. Side effect of the cascade, Rivera explained, noticing her disorientation. About 3% of Earth's population develop varying degrees of quantum perception. They're calling us quantum sapiens, a new evolutionary branch. And the harvesters, transformed. The cascade restored their ability to perceive uncertainty, fracturing their hive mind into individual entities capable of independent thought. The former nodes now serve as translators between dimensions. Rivera's expression turned somber. There's been significant political and social upheaval. Religious institutions, governments, scientific establishments, all trying to adapt to a reality that suddenly includes quantum perception. A nurse entered, checking Ilara's vitals before leaving them alone again. I'm heading Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative now, Rivera continued. We're preparing for a universe that's much more complex than we imagined. Okafor, leading linguistic efforts to communicate with transformed harvester entities. His quantum perception is the most advanced of all of us. Rivera paused, a rare smile crossing her face. But I saved the most impossible news for last. The door opened again, and Ilara's breath caught in her throat. Zhang walked in, not as the sickly young engineer she remembered, but vibrant and healthy, though with an otherworldly quality to his movements. His eyes shifted between normal human appearance and swirling quantum patterns. How? Ilara whispered. The harvesters had consumed countless minds, including medical geniuses from across the galaxy, Zhang explained, his voice carrying subtle harmonics that hadn't existed before. When the cascade transformed them, some chose to help rebuild what they had destroyed. My consciousness was reintegrated with a new quantum-compatible body. We're not entirely human anymore, Rivera admitted. None of us who experienced the cascade directly. But we're something new, something that might bridge dimensions. 3 weeks later, fully recovered, Ilara stood before the newly reformed Galactic Assembly. Now just 12 species, the others lost to the harvesters before the cascade. Earth had been invited to lead the Quantum Exploration Directive, an initiative to help species reconnect with their creative potential while navigating quantum reality. Elder Coraxi, who had barely survived the cascade, hovered nearby. For millennia, we sought certainty, only to find salvation in embracing uncertainty. Ilara watched through the viewscreen as Earth's first purpose-built quantum exploration vessel prepared for launch. The New Horizon, sleeker and more advanced than its predecessor, incorporated both human and harvester technology. Rivera, Okafor, and Zhang would accompany her, all forever changed but united by their journey. As Ilara prepared to board, Coraxi transmitted a final message. We sought salvation in certainty for millennia, only to find it in the beautiful chaos of human thought. The universe doesn't need more answers. It needs better questions. That is humanity's gift to the cosmos. Ilara stepped aboard, ready to explore not just the vast reaches of space, but the infinite quantum horizons that now revealed themselves to human perception. The countless possibilities woven into the fabric of reality itself.